Now, the effect I was going for is this. I'm going to scroll up my list of layers here and turn on this layer called Specular Highlight. And you'll see this is a true photographic sparkle. And while mine is more clearly defined, this was ultimately the effect I was going for with these rays of light and this hot center. So let's see how it works. I'm going to switch over to my image in progress here and go ahead and scroll down to the model's hand. And I'll zoom into the 100% zoom ratio like so. And then I'm going to close this logo group so that we don't inadvertently create a shape inside of it. And I'm going to click on the Fashion Formulas layer so that we create our new elements underneath the teasers, which includes that black text above the hand. Now, the first thing that we need to create is a star. So I'll go ahead and drop down to the Shape tool, click and hold on it, and select the Polygon tool from the flyout menu. And we need more sides than 5, of course. And you can either change the sides value by selecting and dialing in a new value, or I want to show you a keyboard shortcut. Anytime you have one of these values associated with the Shape tool, you can change it from the keyboard by pressing a square bracket key. So if you press the right bracket key, you increase the value. If you press the left bracket key, you decrease the value. Anyway, I want to take that value up to 12, like so. And if I were to draw the star now, you can see that it's more of a burst than what we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac to undo that. I'll click on this little gear icon, and then I'm going to change this indent size value to 90%. Now you want star to be turned on, of course. Smooth corners you want off, is that would smooth the outside corners. And then if you were to turn on smooth indents, you'd smooth the inside corners. We don't want either of those things. So just go ahead and press the Enter key on the PC or the Return key on the Mac in order to hide that panel. And then drag from the top right corner of this uppermost pearl. And you want to drag all the way to the top of the M. So I'm between the M and the I right there. And then I'll go ahead and release in order to create that shape. Now, obviously, black is a bad color for a sparkle, so we'll need to change that. But the first thing I'm going to do is double-click on the name of this item, which is Polygon 1, which couldn't really be less helpful. And then I'll change this layer name to Star. And next, just so I can get a sense of how the star is going to look when I color it properly, I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to the ultimate glow mode, which is screen. Now, screen treats black as invisible. That's why we're seeing through the star now. I want to change the color of the star to a custom color that I'm going to lift from the image. And the easiest way to do that is to double-click on the thumbnail for that star layer. And that'll bring up the color picker dialog box. Then move your cursor out into the image window and click on one of the lighter colors inside that image. Now, I ultimately adjusted these values a little bit. I went ahead and changed the hue value to 35 degrees just to give the color a little more redness. And I took the saturation value down to 35%, and then I cranked the brightness value up to 100% in order to come up with this color here. Now, it's really a shade of pale orange, but once it's set to the screen mode, which gives it more of a glow effect, then it turns kind of yellowish. Now I'll click OK in order to accept that change. Next, I want to go ahead and blur that star a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is press Control-H or Command-H on the Mac to hide the shape outline. And then I want to bring up the Properties panel. And you can do that by going to the Window menu and choosing the Properties command. And you'll see that there's this feather value that's available to us right there. And that allows us to soften even vector-based shapes. So I start by clicking inside the feather value, and then I press Shift up arrow a couple of times in order to increase that feather value in 1 pixel increments. And then I press the up arrow key a few times in order to increase that value in decimal increments. And the ultimate value that I came up with is this one here, 2.5 pixels. All right, next what we want to do is add that glowing center. So I'm going to hide the Properties panel, and then I'll press Control-H or Command-H on the Mac in order to bring back my star. I'm going to create the glow using, of course, the Ellipse tool because it's circular. And then I'll begin dragging from the center of the star, about right there. And as I drag, I'll press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac. So I'm creating the shape from the center outward. And I'll also press the Shift key in order to constrain the shape to a perfect circle like so. And you might need to use the space bar a little bit in order to get that shape properly aligned. By the way, you want to press and hold the Shift and Alt keys or the Shift and Option keys on the Mac after you begin dragging. That's very important. Otherwise, you'll end up adding or subtracting from the current shape. Once you get a shape that's just a little bigger than one of the pearls, then go ahead and release the mouse button and then release the Shift and Alt or Shift and Option keys. And now I'm going to rename this layer Circle because, after all, that's what it is. And it automatically comes in at the same color as the star. But we lost the blend mode, so I'll switch it from normal back to screen once again in order to achieve this effect. And next I'll press Control-H or Command-H on the Mac in order to hide that edge. And I'll once again bring back up the Properties panel. And here's another way to get to the panel very quickly. If you've got a layer mask available to you, as we do in the case of Logo Group, just double-click on its thumbnail, and that'll bring up the Properties panel. That also switches you to a different layer. Then you want to go ahead and click on Circle to switch back to it. And with any luck, the circle will still be hidden. If for some reason Control or Command H doesn't work for you, then add the Shift key. So press Control Shift H or Command Shift H on the Mac. And then I went ahead and clicked in the feather value again, and I pressed Shift up arrow a total of 8 times in order to raise that feather value to 8 pixels. And we end up with this effect here. Now, it looks pretty good. I just felt like it wasn't quite hot enough. So I went ahead and selected both the circle and the star layer by clicking on one and shift-clicking on the other. And then I switched the blend mode to the brightest of the lightning modes, which is linear dodge in parentheses add, in order to achieve this slightly brighter effect. And that, folks, is how you create a synthetic sparkle using shape layers combined with a feather value inside the Properties panel.